This is always my favorite class. Since I started teaching many years ago, this has really always been the favorite thing to talk about. And I say that because for me, it was the first moment in my life when I would say, like, I became, my mind engaged fully, and I saw the possibility of becoming a thinker. And, someone who really can manage and work with ideas. It really, when I got this. And so what we're going to talk about today and Thursday as well is at the heart of every argument, every conflict, every discussion that we have that involves human beings and human behavior. And it's everywhere. And what you want to do is just hold this and think about it and start drawing on it. And when you're having any kind of argument, maybe it's an argument about homelessness or poverty or whether we need the police or racism or discrimination or fair housing or anything at all, you just go here. This is it. And okay, go to the next slide. So, if you want to understand human behavior, you want to understand the causality and the motivation. It either comes from in here, right? It's right here. It's decisions that we make. Like I decide, hey, I make my own decisions and I can overcome any obstacles. So we want to understand how I got here to be a professor at Penn State when I grew up in the working class and people in my family didn't go to college. And, it's just, I didn't know anybody really that would be of the professoriate class. How did I get here? And so on this side are all the things that are up here. I decided on it. I saw how to do it. I carved out the path. I made decisions in my life that said, okay, listen, I want to be a professor, so I'm going to kind of study this, and I'm going to work hard here, and I'm going to figure things out, and I'm going to walk this path to be a professor. And all the things that go into being in this life are things that I decided. Like I really made decisions, and any one of you could be a professor if you wanted to. In 15 or 20 years, you could be right here. All you got to do is decide. It's right in your head. Just decide. Make decisions. So that's here. On the other side is causality that we explain by factors and forces outside of our control. That I follow others around me. I do things that other people around me do. Like, look, no, I'm the only one of all my friends and people who I knew. Like, I'm the only one that went on to be a college professor. Like, nobody thought about things like that. I went to a working class school. Like, no one did that. Everybody followed, and I followed. I did all the things my friends did, except I became a professor. But all the other things I followed. There's so many things. I just followed. I'm looking around. I have all these people around me, my family, my community, my friends, my teachers, everybody, my neighbors. And I just really kind of followed them. I dressed like they dressed. I listened to the music that they listened to. My friends, they all started smoking weed. I started smoking weed. They started drinking. I drank. I did this. I did that. Whatever it was, I did that. Things outside of my life, therefore, were greatly controlling my path. So I'm on this path, right? It's a different version of the path that's over there. But there are so many things outside of me that were shaping me walking up this path. The fact that I'm a man shaped this path. The fact that I'm able-bodied. The fact that I'm 5'11". I'm not 5'2" or 4'9". The fact that I'm white, man, the fact that I'm white has shaped my life in ways that I have no comprehension of the ways in which being white has shaped my life. and made decisions for me, opened doors, closed doors, invited people in, invited me places, all of that stuff, all of it. The fact that I'm a man, the fact that I'm not gay, and dealing with coming out of the closet when I was in the 1970s, all of these things, the social class of my family, y'all. Like, man, I started buying my own school clothes when I was 13 years old. Like, if I wanted new clothes for school, I had a job and I bought them. I didn't get them from anywhere. All that stuff shaped me. All of that. It's all part of my life. Things outside of me, right? And so, over here. So within the context of that, I made decisions. I didn't go to a really good college. In fact, I wasn't a good student. There are all sorts of things that I did and did not do because of the factors and forces that were shaping my life. And so therefore, I made decisions, like I'm walking this path and I'm making decisions, but I'm making those decisions within the context of the factors and forces that are over there and that are circling me at every single moment. Okay, so I made and I make and you make and every human being makes their own decisions. And they make those decisions within the context of factors and forces that you often never ever see. So you, for example, might think like, oh, here I am. I'm at Penn State and I'm going to get a business degree and I'm at Smeal and it's a good school and it's all good, and I'm going to do really well for my class, and I'm going to go just as far as anybody else, because you're down here going like, yeah, okay, so I don't grow up, my parents don't work on Wall Street, but I want to get into finance, and like I think I can really do this, and I think I can fairly compete with everybody else. But, yeah, you can walk up that path, and you're going to walk your own path. And no matter what happens, right? You don't stop just because you don't have a parent that works on Wall Street is going to get you a job or something. You don't stop. You walk the path. But you're going to walk a very different path than the other person who's not at Penn State. Yeah, Penn State's a pretty good school. But it's not the top school. Right? You're going to walk your path, but there are other people that are going to walk that path, this other path that it's totally different from you. They have opportunities, they have things that are happening for them that you will never see and you will never know, and you have absolutely no idea of what you're even capable of. Last weekend, my wife and I spent a couple of days in Spring Lake, New Jersey. Anyone knows, who knows Spring Lake? You know Spring Lake? You got Spring Lake. We're riding our bikes around looking at these houses, just like every moment it's like, holy shit. Like, oh my God. Look at these houses as we're riding along, like, oh my, like as a kid, I had no idea what's going on in the world. I had no idea that this stuff is going on out there. I'm just living my life like, whoa. And then suddenly realize, man, there's so much happening. And I was in the working class. So, we didn't have a lot of resources, but I wasn't poor. So when I'm making decisions from within the working class. So I'm like, okay, I got it. Now, here's the thing. Notice how it says and or. And notice how can you go back one slide? What is it like? An impossible balance, okay? It actually should be an impossible blending. I don't know why I call it balance. It's a blending because these two things are always, always, always operating at the same time. People are making decisions, but they are making decisions in the context of factors and forces that they don't see. Sometimes they see, mostly they don't see, and are largely outside of their control. Things that are so big. So we make decisions, but we make these decisions within the context. So therefore, if I ever want to understand anybody's behavior, If I ever want to understand anything about a group or a people or whatever it is, I got to do two things, right? I got to say like, what decisions are they making? What are they thinking? What are they doing? What decisions are they making? I want to see all of this here. And I want to say, oh, and what are the things that are shaping their lives? What's going on? Both have to come into play, always, at every moment. And what happens is a lot of people get stuck over here saying like, oh, people just make excuses. Oh, you could do it if you want to do it. You just make my roommate could do it, but my roommate just makes excuses. Or those poor people, or the person who's begging on the street. Yeah, just get a job, whatever. Yeah, just get a job. Make a decision to get a job. Just do it. And when you take that approach, you very unwisely leave out all the things over here that happen in people's lives, that shape their behavior and shape their thinking, right? And when you only stand right here and you say, oh man, those poor people, like man, it just really sucks. I got these neighbors and all sorts of bad stuff happens to them and oh my God, it's just, Jesus. And they're losing their house to foreclosure and man, it just sucks. Life has really dealt them a bad hand, right? This is like a typical kind of liberal thing. Life really dealt them a bad hand. And when you stand here and you don't move, you very unwisely leave out the fact that those people, your poor neighbors, whoever it is, that life dealt a bad hand, what happens is you don't realize that they have choices. While they're being dealt bad hands, they have choices. So you got to make choices within the bad hands. And you may get knocked down. It's like, okay, man, here it is. Yeah, God, it sucks. Okay, hang on. I don't know how I'm going to just keep doing this. Like, okay, I'm going to just persevere and I'm going to walk. And then, boom, another bad hand comes and down. I'm out again. I'm like, all right, man, I want to pick myself up by my bootstraps and I'm going to keep going and I'm going to do it. And then boom, another hand. It's like, shit, But that's all you can do. You just keep making decisions. But I'm a sociologist. And I'm trying to teach you to be a sociologist. If you stick there, if you stand there, and some of you do, because really you got it from your father or your mother or your uncle or whatever it is, that you live in this very narrow world where you just think that people can do it if they want to do it, and damn it, they're being lazy or whatever. Well, I'm going to tell you, that's lazy thinking. It's lazy thinking because if you don't include the stuff over here, you're just not being very smart. And including stuff over here doesn't mean people aren't responsible for their lives. It doesn't mean that, people don't have to pick themselves up by the bootstrap 2, 3, 5, 15 times, because you do. You just keep going. No, what it means is if you don't account, for example, if I don't account for the fact that I'm white, that I'm a man, if I don't, and I'm an American, I don't have a speech impediment, I'm 5'11", I'm just kind of average in most ways, I'm not in a wheelchair. If I don't account for that, I don't account for anything about my life. Like, I can't say what's going on in my life. Like, that's the intellectual side. If someone looks at me and says, oh, you're only teaching Social 119 because you're white. It's like, well, that's pretty stupid. Because it doesn't have anything to do with the fact that I've been teaching for 31 years. It doesn't have anything to do with all these other things. Right? No, it's only because you're white. Okay, well, that's dumb. So you leave out all the other stuff. And so what you want to do is you want to bring these things together because you don't want to be dumb. And my job as a professor is to try to make you smarter, try to get you to think in a better, smarter, more clearer way when you leave the room than when you entered it. And so if you only stand here, like people are just victims of life around them, it doesn't matter. You could be a black, disabled, lesbian, poor lesbian woman. Whatever. There are plenty of black, disabled, poor lesbian women. All the things that kind of work against. Who's an immigrant? Let's throw that on there. Who's an immigrant who decide for themselves, like, man, I don't care. I'm over here. I'm going to just keep going. I'm going to figure it out. And when I hit an obstacle in my wheelchair, I'm going to just back that motherfucker up and I'm just going to go around it. And I'm just going to figure it out. Doesn't matter. Right? So therefore, any black, disabled, poor lesbian woman, immigrant woman, could do the same thing. Nah, man. Nah. You be smart about it. No. No, not everybody can do that. But some people do. And so what you want to take notice of as a sociologist is you want to understand what are the things here that kind of hold people in place in some way. Like, what's going on? Why are some groups of people more likely to stay poor? And other groups of people are more likely to supersede and go wherever they need to go. Why is that? Those are the questions you want to ask. That makes you smarter. You don't make excuses. You don't make excuses for anybody. You don't, nothing at all. You just go. Okay? Cool? All right, man. Yo, you see that, right? It's a thing that don't get stuck in one place or another.